ekoizlaria, Ulrike, please. Ulrike egiptologia estudioak ditu, Tübingeneko unibertsitatetik, eta Egiptomanien de Roman Empire and Iruña, Veleia, izango da bere komunikazioa. Ulrike, you're welcome. Thanks for being with us. When you want.
How can you please? Buenas tardes, Mesa el Khair in Arabic. I speak now in English. I hope you understand me very well, because shall I speak with the microphone? Okay. I speak about the Egyptianizing finds of the Roman Empire. We have the Egyptomania in the Roman Empire in Veleia, the ostraca with Egyptianizing hieroglyphs of Iruña, Veleia, and pieces of bone with Egyptian gods in Latin. In the Roman Domus Valentina Pompeia at Iruña, Veleia, more than 400 items of the 3rd century AC with different inscription and drawings have been found. Some of the pieces are like Egyptian ostraca, pottery fragments with Egyptianizing hieroglyphs, and some are bones with the Latin inscription of Egyptian gods and names of Egyptian queens and kings. Is this a sign of Egyptomania at that time? If we look at the finds of Iruña, Veleia, we recognize that there are some parallels to other finds in the so-called ancient or Old Italy world, later the Roman Empire. Both pieces are part of vessels with hieroglyphic inscriptions. The columns of signs cannot be translated, and they may be used as decoration. In the 3rd century AC, the hieroglyphic writing was not very well known, and even 800 years before, the strangers from outside Egypt, e.g. the Phoenicians and others, cannot understand the meaning and use the signs as decoration on vessels. We have an inscription on a cotile from Ponte Cagnano in Italy. This inscription on a Phoenician cotile from the 3rd century BC found near Salerno at Ponte Cagnano shows hieroglyphs without meaning. The signs can be identified as ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. You can see it at Gardiner, but they cannot be translated. They look very nice, but you cannot read it as a sentence or as a word. Very well done. They are used as decoration on the cotile. They cannot be read. You can see an Egyptian cartouche or stamp with hieroglyphs on a pottery fragment. In ancient Egyptian times, cartouches were used for the royal names, which were written in hieroglyphs inside the stamp. You can find such cartouches as possessing signs on the walls of Egyptian buildings and tombs, on statues, vessels, and so on. In Roman times, the cartouche often contains the inscription Per Aa, pharaoh, or translated as important or big house. Without name in the cartouche was without inscription. The cartouche was without inscription, only a symbol. At the piece Iruña 11413 appears a so-called pseudo-cartouche, because the hieroglyphs have no meaning as a name. Maybe they are also used in a decorative way or as a symbol. We have another cortile found with 4 pseudo-cartouches and smiting the enemy from Ponte Cagnano. You see it here on this side, the different motifs of the old ancient Egyptian art. On the Phoenician silver vessel from the 6th century BC, we recognize a lot of Egyptian themes. E.g., the pharaoh smites the enemy in front of a god, the young god Horus on a lotus flower, and 4 cartouches. Inside the cartouche there are written hieroglyphs without sense. The ancient Egyptian scenes can be found on temples all over Egypt, and the cartouches symbolize the king. The pharaoh, even the name cannot be read. And in this case, a lot of ancient Egyptian relics were used later, mainly as decoration or symbols. Augustus conquered Egypt in the year 30 BC as Octavian, and it was the beginning of Egyptomania in the Roman Empire. Up to the 4th century AC, it was en vogue to use Egyptianizing elements, especially in the private properties of the nobles, e.g. the Domus Livia and the Aula Isaica, both at the Palatine in Rome, and the Domus Laureus Tiburtinus in Pompeii. In Iruña, Veleia, there are 3 pieces with important ancient Egyptian motifs, the Uchat eye and the scarab. The eye, Gardiner number D4, was used as phonogram ir, to see, or as ideogram irit, eye, and irit, to do, to make, to place, to put, to work out. It was also used as a determinative for to see, to cry, to wake up, to be blind. The Uchat eye, Gardiner D10, is the determinative for eye, Uchat or Uchat eye, and standing for the tutelary god Horus, used as a sign against bad influences and as amulet for protection. We find it also in an ornamental way. And we have in our museum at Tübingen some models of Uchat eyes. You can imagine that the workers use such models to make Uchat eyes for all the people who need it. The scarab, or Scarabell Saka, Gardiner sign L1, was the phonogram hepper, come into, begin, be created, be formed, arise, develop, to grow, and as ideogram hepper for scarab. The god Khepri as sun in the morning. The scarab was also used as amulet. Here we also have one real amulet of our museum at Tübingen, a real scarab made in ancient Egyptian times, and a lot of other amulets also used in ancient Egyptian times. But the Romans, they copied all these things, and you cannot imagine if it's real ancient Egyptian or if it's Roman. The Egyptian motifs are handed down to the Roman world, and at the Aula Isaica, Palatine Hill in Rome, Egyptianizing decoration can be found. Here we have also on the walls some motifs of ancient Egyptian art. It was usual in the Roman Empire to copy the ancient motifs, forms and finds for decoration because of its aesthetical fascination, and even for getting protection by Egyptianizing amulets. And in architecture too, the Romans like to keep the old Egyptian heritage. the pyramid of Cassius at Rome. It was built like an ancient Egyptian pyramid. They used the same stones and tried to make the same part of a tomb as for a pharaoh. But the adaptation occurs not only in the private and representative sphere. The ancient Egyptian religion fascinated the Romans more and more. And the cult of Isis and Osiris Serapis culminated in the 2nd and 3rd century AC, in temple buildings, Iseum and Serapeum, in different objects for offering, and so on. Here we have different signs for the worshipping of Egyptian gods in the Roman world. We have here Isis lactans, also from our museum in Tübingen. And here we have the Iseum Campense in Rome, and also the Iseum at Pompeii. You can see that there are some buildings especially for Egyptian gods. Flourishing cults of Egyptian gods can be recognized in the whole Roman Empire. In the north, Isis and Osiris Serapis reached Britannia. In the south, North Africa. In East Syria. In the west, the Iberian Peninsula, also Veleia. What was the idea of the Romans to adopt foreign cults from the past? What was the ancient Egyptian theology, or was it a religion of redemption which attracted them? In the 2nd and 3rd century AC, the Roman Empire increased, and in this time can be noticed a kind of individualism in the religious sphere. Not the ancient Egyptian concepts have been in the foreground, but the private necessities of the Roman people after emotional experience, taking in a higher world and grouping with religious community. We also have some mummies and some behavior with the amulets like in ancient Egypt in the Roman Empire. Beside pottery fragments of vessels in Iruña, Veleia, some bones and part of bones have been discovered with Latin written inscriptions. The focus will be on the Egyptian goddess Isis and on the Egyptian gods Osiris and Anubis, as you can see here on this part. In case of the development of cults in the Roman Empire, these pieces can be a sign for individual worship of Egyptian gods in Iruña, Veleia. The influence of the ancient Egyptian culture was immense in the Roman Empire and also took a small place in Iruña, Veleia. Thank you very much. I hope that I was enough.